tonight. States of emergency are issued in several southwest rural municipalities as drought conditions worsen. The age limit drops for women who can self-refer for a mammogram, but some say the province needs better communication. And a special connection between grandfather and granddaughter at the RCMP's sunset ceremony.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Monday, July 7th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. Several rural municipalities in southwest Saskatchewan have declared states of emergency because of drought, with many farmers saying they're struggling to make feed for their livestock. Aaliyah Marco Omene reports.
Corrine Gibson says this drought is the worst she has seen in 33 years of ranching. She owns 6 Mile Ranch near Fir Mountain with her husband Clayton.
This year, we received little to no rain in the early spring, May and early June, which we usually have received a little. So this year, nothing even started, nothing grew.
The crops they had finished seeding over the May long weekend stopped growing just 4 weeks later. Concerning, as they provide feed for their cattle come winter.
That means that all of the feed that we typically grow and produce here on the ranch now has to be purchased.
So far, that's cost them around $1 million. And they're now transporting their cattle to healthier land, 300 kilometers away. If conditions don't improve, they may not plant crops next spring.
We've literally been trenching for some water, and we've been going like 10 feet deep, and you can't find a damp spot anywhere.
Environment Canada says most of southwest Saskatchewan has only received up to 20 millimeters of rain so far this summer, and drought is expected to continue over the next several months. One group representing Saskatchewan farmers says there needs to be more dialogue between producers and government. And while programs like crop insurance help, needs vary between farms.
Producers would certainly welcome the opportunity to have input into just to let the government know where we're at and what types of support that producers are going to need.
Saskatchewan's agriculture minister says he always wants to hear from farmers and that programs can always be changed to meet producers' needs. Aaliyah Marco Omene, CBC News, near Fir Mountain.
One man is dead and another is injured after a crane collapse in Saskatoon. It happened at this construction site Saturday morning in the Forest Grove neighborhood. The men were taken to hospital. One of them, a 38-year-old, later succumbed to his injuries. There's no word yet on the condition of the other 37-year-old man. The family of a Saskatoon woman killed by her partner is breaking their silence. They say they're disappointed in the prosecution and the killer's family. Dan Zakreski reports.
Emily Sanch came from a family of doctors. Her father, her brother, her grandfather. They are now haunted that she never reached out for help. Sanch was stabbed to death by her partner, Thomas Hamp, in 2022. A judge ruled last week that Hamp was not criminally responsible for her death, saying he had a mental disorder that made him incapable of knowing what he was doing was wrong. In a statement to CBC, Sanch's family says they could have helped Hamp. Given Emily's father's position as a specialist physician working for over 25 years in Saskatoon, we would have ensured that Thomas received the assessment and care he required had we been informed. Not having had that opportunity is one of our unbearable regrets. Thomas's confidentiality was prioritized by many over Emily's safety, with tragic consequences. Sanch kept a detailed record of her efforts to get medical help for her partner, of their trips to the hospital. In their statement, Hamp's parents say her notes had a huge impact on the trial, quote, transcending her passing. This deeply offends Sanch's family. It is hard to express how insensitive this statement is coming from the killer's family. No apologies, no regrets, no accountability. Their appreciation for Emily seems centered on the support she provided to Thomas, both in life and now in death. We challenged Thomas and his parents to think beyond themselves and recognize that Emily's life was much bigger than her utility for them or Thomas. The Sanch family is also taking issue with prosecutor Corey Bliss. They say they're disappointed that he didn't get a mental health expert to counter the defense's expert witness. Thomas Hamp's case now goes to the Saskatchewan Review Board. It will decide what happens next, as Hamp's case is now out of the criminal justice system. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
An external review of Regina hospitals has found there is a medical leadership crisis. The government hired 2 out-of-province doctors to investigate workplace culture after complaints of misconduct, conflict, and racism. The physicians have made 14 recommendations. Now the province's Medical Association and Health Authority have vowed to make changes.
The themes that the reviewers mentioned in their recommendations are not new to us. We have heard them from our members, we've heard these concerns before, and we're committed to working to make them better.
We're committed to making those changes necessary to make Saskatchewan a have province. Obviously this report, it would have been great if it was a glowing report, but it was not, and we have to accept that and we have to own that.
The Health Authority says it will take action by holding engagement sessions with doctors. It also plans to restructure its chain of command and launch an anti-racism strategy. The provincial NDP says reduced hours at Regina's Urgent Care Centre show the provincial government is failing to retain healthcare workers. The centre is usually open until 9:30 every night, but Sunday its doors closed at 4 p.m. because of a lack of staff. The centre was widely expected to be open 24 hours a day by the start of this year.
We're not going to recruit or train our way out of the problem that we have right now. We have to stop the losses of healthcare professionals by again, listening to them, valuing them. And that's something that this government seems to have an incredible difficulty doing.
The Saskatchewan Health Authority says it is monitoring patient levels at the centre and that while it is focusing on recruiting more healthcare workers, the facility is functioning as intended. The age for women to self-refer for a mammogram in Saskatchewan is now down to 45 years old. It's part of a phased approach the province is taking to knock down the age qualification to 40. But some think women don't necessarily know they now qualify. Laura Sharpaletti has that story.
The change to the mammogram screening age is something advocates have been wanting for a long time. Experts say a mammogram is one of the best ways to catch breast cancer early when it's most treatable.
Every day that passes means someone may be missing out on a diagnosis. And we do know that cancer in the 40s is extremely aggressive. 17% of cancers do happen in the 40s. And the rate of mortality for women from 40 to 49 is high.
But many say women have no idea they can now self-refer, and the province needs to ramp up communication.
We saw in Ontario, which began self-referral in October of last year, that the average uptake across the province is about 14%. And so we would really like to see those numbers a lot higher in Saskatchewan.
Dale says that would take provincial awareness campaigns, like sending women in their 40s screening invitation letters by mail, which she says is most effective. Meanwhile, the Saskatchewan Cancer Agency says it is promoting breast screening in a variety of ways.
We can offer it both in Regina and Saskatoon, where we have added an extra screening mammogram machine, as well as in our satellite sites.
Those sites are in smaller centres like Moose Jaw, Yorkton, and Lloydminster. A mobile mammogram bus also visits various communities. But this cancer survivor is worried about the screening backlog for women who already show signs of breast cancer.
I waited 2 months. It was a grueling 2 months, and I don't want to see women continue to have to wait that time frame. It's unacceptable, and it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed now.
If we're screening more, we're going to find more, and that's the whole point of the screening program, right? But will we have enough staff, and will the system get overloaded? So if you find something on screening, are these women going to have access to diagnostic scans?
The SHA admits recruitment of medical radiation technologists who perform breast screening exams is challenging, as there is a provincial and national shortage. It says recruitment efforts may include financial incentives. The next age drop for women to self-refer comes in January 2026 for those ages 43 to 45. Laura Sharpaletti, CBC News, Regina.
The sounds of the Saskatchewan Jazz Festival in Saskatoon over the weekend. The festival continues until Saturday. Wednesday is CBC Day at Jazz Fest, and along with some great music and artists, CBC Radio's The 306 will be live from Victoria Park, and weather specialist Helena Mahalik will also be there to bring us the weather. Before that, though, Helena is, of course, in studio to tell us what weather we can expect for CBC Day and the rest of the week ahead. That and more is coming up after the break. At least 89 people have died in Texas after catastrophic flooding over the U.S. holiday weekend. Rescue teams say they are still looking for more victims as well as survivors.
And when we say search and rescue operations, that is boat, walking on the ground, dogs, drones. Again, keep personal drones out of the air, helicopters. We do have other assets that are continuing the search as well.
The flooding began on the 4th of July, catching many people off guard, including an all-girls camp on the banks of a river in central Texas. There, 27 people were killed from rushing water. Dozens remain missing, including 10 children from the camp. Officials warn of more potential flooding as the ground remains saturated with water. Heavy rains have also set off flood warnings in part of North Carolina. So far, no injuries or deaths have been reported. Local crews say they had to carry out more than 50 water rescues in the state. Heavy rain and flooding were caused by the remnants of Tropical Storm Chantal. There are concerns of more flash floods for mid-Atlantic U.S. states as the storm moves northeast. Back in this province, more money is being given to northern communities to help them rebuild after the impact of destructive wildfires. $20 million has been promised by the provincial government for debris removal, landfills, environmental testing, and project management.
This funding is intended for communities and individuals that sustained losses during the provincial emergency declaration period, which ran from May 29th to June 26th, or if the evacuated community was under a local state of emergency at the time of the loss.
McLeod says the money is not supposed to replace insurance, which should cover a significant amount of personal and business losses. Next door in Manitoba, officials say there are more than 80 active fires across that province, many sparked by recent lightning strikes.
When lightning strikes, it can take 3 to 5 days, sometimes even longer, for that smoke to pop up. So that's what we're dealing with now, is a lot of starts from lightning, and more forecasted on the horizon, unfortunately.
Residents of Leaf Rapids have now been told to evacuate. Manitoba's largest northern city of Thompson is the latest to declare a state of emergency due to a nearby fire. This year has already seen a total of well over 200 fires, far above the 30-year average. The provincial government is helping to secure shelter for evacuees, and additional fire crews have now also arrived in Winnipeg. Meanwhile, a difficult few days for people in Tataskwiak Cree Nation. At least 7 homes in the northeastern Manitoba First Nation have been lost to wildfires. This latest fire ignited and was quickly spread by heavy winds. Many in the community have remained out because the water treatment plant stopped working. But this weekend, the roughly 175 people remaining in the community were told to leave. In a Facebook update Sunday, the community's chief says she's been told they are not out of the woods yet.
We could end up losing more homes or buildings or whatever, and then he's kind of saying to me, said to us that your members are going to have to stay away for a couple more weeks until everything here is contained.
Firefighters from York Factory First Nation and Gillam are helping battle the out-of-control fire. And weather specialist Helena Mahalik joins us now. And the good news, I guess, Helena, is that over the weekend we got a lot of rain to help keep those fires at bay.
Yes, definitely, Ethan. You know, it was a pretty clear weekend up until Sunday night, where all of a sudden there was pretty much a torrential downpour. Let's take a look at where some of that rainfall was. We're seeing the most of that rainfall in central Saskatchewan, areas around Saskatoon and surrounding areas, close to 30 millimeters of rainfall. Where I am in Saskatoon, a lot of that was only about an hour to an hour and a half long period. Other areas like the Arm of Quinton got over 20 millimeters, and in the south, areas like Radville got over 10 millimeters of rainfall, so a very good amount in just one day alone there. As for Monday night, we are seeing a chance of rain in the province again, especially in the southeast, where there is a chance of funnel clouds developing, so exceed with caution, especially if driving on Highway 11. Some other risks from the storm include dime-sized hail and wind gusts up to 70 kilometers an hour. As we get into Tuesday, though, we are going to see a mainly clear day, but northern Saskatchewan does have a chance of some rainfall there, and we may continue to see a chance of rain in the area as we look ahead to Wednesday, and maybe some more rain is possible for southern Saskatchewan as well. Into Thursday, much of the province could experience a chance of showers, especially areas around Saskatoon, the southwest, and again the north has a good chance of experiencing some rain. Northern Saskatchewan, it looks like they're getting a few days of rainfall, so just how much rain are we going to be seeing in the area? Well, it seems like it's just going to be some light rain every day, because we're only really getting around 8 millimeters of rainfall in places like La Loche and Stony Rapids. Other areas only really getting around 5 millimeters of rainfall. We do know that lots of rain is needed. Over the weekend, central Saskatchewan was even experiencing some of that widespread smoke. Air quality warnings continue to be in effect for the Larange area, and over the next few days, we will continue to see air quality be an issue in that area, as well as areas surrounding Buffalo Narrows. As for winds, Monday we didn't see too much of a breeze, but as we look ahead to Tuesday, we will see up to 40 kilometers an hour wind gusts for much of the province, especially south and central Saskatchewan. Into Wednesday, that might be even more wind, again 40 kilometers an hour throughout south and central Saskatchewan. And it's really our heat that we're looking at, especially as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. We're going to be seeing temperatures jumping up to around 30 degrees over the next few days. That's prompted heat warnings to be in effect throughout much of the southwestern part of the province, as we could see temperatures closer to 35 degrees, Ethan. So definitely a day to wear your sunscreen, and yeah, be careful when you're outside in the next few days.
Yeah, we're going right back into the summer weather. All right, Helena, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ethan.
Well, the RCMP's sunset ceremony has returned to Depot Division in Regina for another year. And for one of the employees of the force, the event has a special meaning. Her grandfather started the Regina version of the ceremony years ago, and he's still around to see his granddaughter take part.
I started getting messages after I got the job that they're like, was your grandpa Bill Perry? Was your grandpa Bill Perry? And I said, yeah, it is. And they're like, well, he started the sunset ceremony, and the unit that you'll be working in is the one that puts on sunset ceremony. So my grandpa started the sunset ceremony here in a depot in the early 1960s. It started in 1962 with the trumpet and drum band, which it kind of evolved into having parades on the square here where you invited the community in. He's 93 years old now, and he came to my first sunset ceremony, and so he was pretty proud moment for both of us, and we got some pictures together, and he got to see what it's kind of evolved to today. He was a very proud Mountie and did a lot of amazing things in his career, and so it was pretty good moment for both of us when I told him. He and I are quite close actually, and it's pretty nice to reminisce now, and we can share some stories, things that are happening now and things that he had to work with when he was here and during his time at Depot, and all the changes. Like every time he comes here, he's just like, oh my gosh, all the change. It's so different from when he was here. So getting to see that is pretty cool, and he literally loves coming here. So if I bring him, he's all happy, and he's like, I want to stay forever.
Well, a record-breaking moment in the music world. 1,353 people braved the rain in Germany to form the world's largest string orchestra. Musicians of all ages gathered to play in a town hall square in this West German city. The previous record was set in Hong Kong in 2018. This gathering beat that record by more than 300. The musicians performed Beethoven's Ode to Joy, known as the European Anthem. Beautiful. Stay with us. We're back after the break. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are back on the practice field after a week off. The Riders are returning from a bye week after improving to 4-0. The Green and White are now the only undefeated team left in the CFL. Starting quarterback Trevor Harris was a full go at practice Monday. This after missing the Riders' last game due to a concussion. But Harris says it was not his decision to sit out.
I was fine. Let's not probably go down that road. A little bit of a shouting match, but always trust what the doctors are saying, and they're looking out for our best interests. And at the end of the day, we've only got one brain, and we're all going to be 55 and 60 someday. And I got 4 kids, and although I told them I was ready to go and ready to play, they took matters in their own hands just based off of what they thought and what they gathered from, I guess, people or whatever. So.
Sam Emilis and Sean Bain Jr. both returned to the practice field in a limited capacity. Emilis has not played since week 2, and Bain has yet to suit up at all this season. Next up for the Riders is a date with the Calgary Stampeders this Friday night at Mosaic Stadium. And something tells me, Helena, it is going to be very hot for that game.
Definitely, Ethan. We're in for a really hot next few days. Let's take a look at the forecast for the city of Regina. Temperatures are going to be jumping up Tuesday to close to the 30-degree mark, and then we're going to exceed 30 degrees Wednesday. Luckily, there's going to be a little bit of a breeze to help with those extreme heat. And by Thursday, temperatures dropping back to seasonal, and by Friday, even below the 20-degree mark as we get a 60% chance of some rainfall. Don't worry, in time for the weekend, the sun is back out, temperatures back to that 30-degree mark. Next week, we could also see some more rainfall possible, and we will have overnight lows well above seasonal for this time of year. In Saskatoon, we will see temperatures in the next 2 days hovering around 30 degrees. Again, we have a chance of some breeze and wind as well to help with that heat. But Thursday, temperatures dropping by 10 degrees as some cloud coverage comes in, and some rain as Friday as well, keeping temperatures cool. Into the weekend, though, it'll be nice sun and temperatures will be quite warm as well. Into Monday, we will see some rainfall as well. So, Ethan, we have temperatures at 30 degrees and then almost below 20. The temperatures are just playing tricks.
Yeah, and I stand corrected. The Rider game may be rainy and cool, unusual for July. Helena, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ethan.
And that is it for us. For more news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/Sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. And of course, you can also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching.